It's 7 a.m. and the first car ferry of the day makes the short journey from mainland Greece to the island of Poros. It brings supplies and workers to fuel the island's main source of income, tourism. Generations have called this island home, but many are afraid that soon they will be forced to leave because of a plan to increase fish farms around the island by 28 times. This is the story of how an island that depends on tourism and pristine seas became targeted by not only Greece's largest aquaculture company, but also the central government of Greece itself.
Καλώς ήρθατε στο όμορφο νησί του Πόρου. Ονομάζομαι πατήρ Χαράλαμπος Μιλονόπουλος. Είμαι εδώ ιερέας 23 χρόνια. Βέβαια τον Πόρο τον ήξερα από τη μικρή μου ηλικία γιατί πήγαινα και λύκειο εδώ. Ναι, αυτό είναι ένα πάρα πολύ μεγάλο θέμα. Τα κόμματα που κυβέρνησαν την Ελλάδα τα τελευταία χρόνια και τα τρία είναι υπέρ της ΠΟΑΗ. Αυτοί λοιπόν, εφόσον είναι υπέρ της ΠΟΑΗ, δεν ακούνε τη φωνή του λαού. Αυτό το πράγμα λέγεται φασισμός. Πιστεύω ότι όσους νόμους κι αν ψάξουμε για να τους φρενάρουνε, αυτοί έχουν φτιάξει την νομοθεσία στα μέτρα τους, όπως τη θέλουνε. Επομένως, ο μόνος τρόπος που μας μένει για να μπορέσουμε να αντισταθούμε είναι η εξέγερση.
Είμαι ένας από τους παλαιότερους εν ενεργεία επιχειρηματίες εστιατόρες του νησιού και ευελπιστώ να συνεχίσει το νησί να ασχολείται με τον τουρισμό και όχι με τις ιχθυοκαλλιέργειες που θέλουν να εγκατασταθούν στο νησί μας. Τα τελευταία 60 χρόνια είναι ένα άκρος τουριστικό νησί και μπορώ να πω το 80% των κατοίκων ασχολείται με τον τουρισμό. Και πραγματικά θα είναι πολύ στενόχωρο να αλλάξει το στάτους και από το τουριστικό νησί να πάμε σε ένα νησί που θα εκτρέφει ψάρια.
Fish farms have existed here for around 30 years, but they have always been relatively small concerns. All that is about to change. In 2011, the Greek government announced an ambitious plan. The Organised Aquaculture Development Areas, or the POIAI, would expand fish farming by 24 times across Greece. A total of 25 regions throughout Greece are being converted into zones of exclusive exploitation by aquaculture companies, to the exclusion of other activities, such as tourism or farming. The island of Poros and the Methana Peninsula were one of these zones. Once the presidential decree is issued, fish farms will occupy 1/4 of the island.
Δεν είναι μόνο το ότι θα χάσουν τη δουλειά, ξέρω εγώ, αυτοί που ασχολούνται με τον τουρισμό. Είναι και το περιβάλλον. Θα καταστραφεί το περιβάλλον. Στη θάλασσα μετά θα χρησιμοποιήσουν τεράστια έκταση που μοιραία τα κατάλοιπα των τροφών και ενδεχομένως των φαρμάκων θα επηρεάσουν απόλυτα το περιβάλλον το θαλάσσιο. Η Ποσειδονία που υπάρχει αυτή τη στιγμή σε όλο το Σαλονικό θα καταστραφεί, ανανεώνει το οξυγόνο του νερού, της θάλασσας και των ζώων που ζουν μέσα σε αυτήν. Οι ΠΟΑΗ, όπως είπα και πριν, δεν θα αφορούν μόνο τη θάλασσα, αλλά και το 1/4 της στεριάς, που αποτελείται από ένα παρθένο πευκοδάσος. Θα μπορούν αυτοί ανεξέλεγκτα, χωρίς καμία επιπλέον άδεια, να καταστρέψουν το πράσινο περιβάλλον για να φτιάξουν τις εγκαταστάσεις τους και να εγκαταστήσουν τα ιχθυοτροφία και γενικά τις μονάδες καθαρισμού δικτυών, να φτιάχνουν τα συσκευαστήρια για τα ψάρια.
Εκείνο το οποίο είναι βασικό είναι ότι αυτοί που θα έχουν την ΠΟΑΗ παίρνουν και στεριά, η οποία στεριά μπορεί να είναι είτε ιδιοκτησία, είτε δημόσια έκταση δασική, είτε δημόσια έκταση μη δασική. Η πολιτική λοιπόν η δική μας γίνονται κουβαρντάδες με την περιουσία αλωνών και εκεί ο Έλληνας να μην μπορεί να μπει.
In just a few days' time, the people of Poros are going to the polling booths to elect a new local government. Including the possibility for the first time in 10 years of a new mayor. The current mayor of Poros, Ioannis Dimitriadis, has been very outspoken against the expansion of fish farms since his election in 2014. George Katouzis, a local businessman, is the most likely candidate to take over the role of mayor. His views on fish farms are not as well known. Some people are concerned that he may be pro-fish farms and that his election will open the floodgates of fish farm expansion.
This is the northern coast of Poros where the POAΗ will be created. We're standing at the Sanctuary of Poseidon, the ancient Greek god of the sea. It's a place where you come to calm down, see the beautiful view. There was a road connecting the ancient port with the Sanctuary of Poseidon. And this is an archaeological site which will be occupied by fish farms and by their land infrastructure. The small fish farms that we have will be expanded by 28 times in terms of area and by 8 times in terms of production. And after 5 years, they will be able to increase the production as much as they want.
I painted this probably 25 years ago in watercolor up above Vaionia Bay. That happens to be one of the places that the fish farms are planning to take over 1/4 of the old island. Hard to think of this beautiful area, which is so full of olive trees and cypress, and you can see the little road going down, and it's alive, and it won't be if we have fish farms there. I was a travel director for a while. I had been bringing artists to Greece to paint when I stopped just to do a painting here of the Galini House, which is the House of Serenity. When I got back for the next ferry, the winds came up and there was a storm. The man said, "Sorry, no more ferries today." And I said, well, do you know when this is going to clear? He said, only the gods know. So I fell in love with Poros. It was just such a sweet island. So I thought, I could really live here for the rest of my life and paint. I first heard that there were fish farms here right after I came. It was the early 1990s. They had just put them in, and I didn't know where they were, but there were a few. And then, of course, I think it was 12, 13 years ago, this idea that the government had to put more fish farms where those are. And that's the problem. As I understand it, most of the fish that comes from the fish farms now goes to Italy, and they call it Greek fish from the beautiful waters of the Aegean Sea. Sorry, no.
In the Mediterranean, we have a deep connection with the sea. And like our parents and grandparents, we grow up living, breathing, and even dreaming of the sea. The same dream has brought together the collective experience of 4 great companies under one name, Avromar, with one common mission: to bring the Mediterranean to your table.
They will do whatever it takes, and in order to make money and keep the price of the fish down, they have to raise them neck to neck and put penicillin and all sorts of things into the water. They destroy the area around them, and that spreads. And of course, here in a Gulf, it will spread.
Avromar is the biggest aquaculture producer in Greece, but it is not a Greek company. It is owned by a mixture of the private equity fund company Amira from the United States and Mubadala, an investment company from the United Arab Emirates.
Fish farming in the beginning started with small fish farms that were placed in coves around the Greek islands. About 30 years ago, we started having some larger corporations that were involved in fish farming. But unfortunately, all of them have, at some point or another, faced financial issues. And some of them were also very close to bankruptcy. The specific company that is operating in this area of Greece owes literally hundreds of millions to the Greek banks. And today, I think the concern is that we really have consolidation of 1 or 2 companies, right? We're creating almost a monopoly. One of the ways that fish farms can become more viable is by producing more. So there's a lot of pressure towards the Greek government to increase really the areas where fish farms are allowed to be placed. It creates whether you're consolidating power too much in one company, whether that company has then political power to avoid certain things that they should have done, whether they have political power to change laws. Greece has also lived a decade of financial crisis, and Greek banks have struggled for years to really remain afloat. If you own 300, 400 million and suddenly you go bankrupt, well, that's an issue for the balance sheet of those banks. And one of the things that keeps the Greek stock market afloat is the banks.
Greece is on the verge of default tonight, hours from what many believe is a near certainty it will miss a Tuesday deadline to pay back more than $1 billion to the International Monetary Fund.
The government had borrowed heavily, drastically increasing its spending.
Greece's national debt stands at almost $420 billion.
Well, officials from Europe and the International Monetary Fund are meeting in Athens to work out the fine print for an emergency rescue plan for Greece. The aid package is worth up to 45 billion euros. The Greek government says it doesn't necessarily want a bailout, but may have no choice.
Καταρχήν την επιχείρηση την άνοιξε ο πατέρας μου πριν 30 χρόνια. Λίντα, ένα ψαλίδι μου δίνεις. Και είναι κάτι που το αγαπάω από μικρό παιδί. Και αυτό που με έκανε να ασχοληθώ κατά κύριο λόγο είναι ότι είναι κάτι πάρα πολύ δημιουργικό. Τώρα όσον αφορά τις καλλιέργειες, πέρα από το ότι η εγκατάστασή τους θα έχει αρνητικές επιπτώσεις στην ποιότητα του θαλασσινού νερού και στο περιβάλλον γενικότερα, οπότε είμαστε ένα νησί που κατά κύριο λόγο ζούμε από τον τουρισμό και θα είναι σε εισαγωγικά μια ταφόπλακα. κάτι το οποίο απευχόμαστε και ελπίζουμε να μην πραγματοποιηθεί. Να καταφέρουμε να το εμποδίσουμε όλοι μαζί.
Να ψαρεύω, ξεκίνησα με 3 μέτρα βαρκάκι, ψάρευα όλη νύχτα πυροφάνη. Τώρα μετά που μεγάλωσα, είμαι 78 χρονών, πήρα αυτό το καϊκάκι να πηγαίνω κοντά. Εγώ δεν ψαρεύω ποτέ μου στις ηχθειοκαλλιέργειες, γιατί όταν δίνω ψάρια δεν θέλω να μου πούνε ότι γιατί δεν ήταν καλά ή γιατί μυρίζουνε και δεν πάω ποτέ μου. Ψάρια δουλεύω σε μέρη καθαρά. Σε εμάς φοριέται το χειρότερο κακό που μπορείς να φανταστείς. Η θάλασσα έχει καταστραφεί από αυτό το πράγμα. Πιάναμε πολλά ψάρια. Είχε ψάρια και πιάναμε. Τώρα είναι πολύ δύσκολα. Πέφτουν τα απόλυτα, ξέρεις, στη θάλασσα και όπως καταλαβαίνεις μέχρι ψάρια βγαίνουν στον αφρό και δεν ξέρω γιατί βγαίνουνε. Στείλαμε δείγματα και δεν μας είπανε από τι προέρχεται αυτό το πράγμα και βγαίνουν τα ψάρια στον αφρό.
Αυτή τη δουλειά την ξεκίνησα να την κάνω γιατί ήταν οικογενειακή. Ήταν ο πατέρας μου ο οποίος είχε καΐκι και από μικρό παιδί πήγαινα κι εγώ μαζί. Τα ψάρια τα περισσότερα είναι από το καΐκι το δικό μας εδώ, δικά μας ντόπια. Φυσικά εννοείται ότι προτιμούν να αγοράζουν φρέσκα ψάρια εδώ, δικά μας ντόπια. Και τα ιχθυοτροφείου, τα οποία περισσότερο τα παίρνουν οι ξένοι, οι αλλοδαποί, οι τουρίστες. Φυσικά εγώ τους προτείνω να πάρουν κάτι δικό μας ντόπιο εδώ. Γι' αυτό και στο μαγαζί μου ό,τι έχει σχέση με ιχθυοτροφία, ψάρια που πουλάω, το γράφω στις ταμπέλες απάνω ότι είναι ιχθυοτροφείο.
Δεν πιστεύεις ότι οι περισσότεροι προτιμούν τα φρέσκα ψάρια?
Γιατί ίσως ξέρουν το τι περιέχουν του ιχθυοτροφείου τα ψάρια, το τι ταΐζονται. Δεν είναι δικό μου το θέμα, είναι θέμα όλης της Ελλάδας. Εάν από κοινού αποφασίσουμε ότι δεν χρειαζόμαστε πλέον τα ψάρια του ιχθυοτροφείου, θα υπάρξει πρόβλημα μετά σε όλα αυτά τα ιχθυοτροφεία και δεν θα μπορούν να πουλήσουν τα ψάρια τους κι αυτοί.
I remember the first time that we went out to the boat and I saw those fish farms. It was a little bit of a shock. I was wondering what's under them. I was fortunate enough one day to be able to dive to the seabed. I had read all these reports that the seabed is destroyed, that there's pollution down there, that the fish farms leave and they never clean up. Is totally destroyed. You see the debris of different things from their nets to other things. There's just tons of plastic there. I cannot understand why the seabed has so many tires. I think for the Greek fish farming industry, there have been a lot of concerns over the years that they have not been following the law as they should have. Also, there are concerns about the environmental impact studies that have been implemented for those fish farms. If you look at the environmental impact study of Poros, for example, it does not bring up the fact that Poros lives from tourism.
The environmental impact study conducted on Poros was funded by Avramar, but was carried out by a company called Ambio. the same company that took part in the fish farm's special planning for all of Greece. It states that Poros is not a developed tourist island, which is just as well, as the environmental impact study also infers that approximately 16 tonnes of organic waste will be released into the sea each day.
The farms in Greece are in areas of low to very low income. There are areas where there is no other activities, and there are areas where they sustain people and population because of agriculture. Unfortunately for these people, no one wanted there to go and build a Hilton hotel or a major resort in order to subsidize the local economy.
We know that Greece depends on tourism. For any economy to be dependent on a single thing, that was a concern. And during COVID times, the tourist industry in Greece really struggled. Governments in general that have ruled in the last years have looked at other areas of growth. Fish farms at some point were seen as such. And it was seen also as an industry that maybe would provide jobs. Unfortunately, that has not been the case.
The farms around Poros produce sea bass and sea bream, some of the most popular fish in the Mediterranean. Avramar aims to grow its production around Poros from 1,100 tonnes to 8,800 tonnes a year. A report commissioned by the Rausch Foundation suggests that tourism already generates 3 times more economic impact than the projected fish farm's expansion, and an estimated 5 times more jobs. Tourism currently provides 780 jobs and keeps 200 or more businesses running across the island. This is money that goes directly back into the economy of Poros, not to an overseas multinational.
I ran the harbor with my bicycle, and they know me already, so they say, "Vangeli, we have a laundry for you." When I talk with the skippers, they're very concerned about the fish farms. They love the island the way it is. They don't want fish farms and poisoning the bottom of the sea. And I know how dirty it is because I was going in the farms and pick up their trash. It's dying. And the bottom, year after year, the chemicals, it covers like a deadly mud. And that will be devastation for one of the last paradise in Greece.
I think it's very important to keep the fish farms away from this island. I think that if the fish farms come to Poros, they will affect the tourists that are actually our incoming here to this island. They are mostly tourists from other places. We are okay with the local people, but for sure it's not enough for all our business here in Poros. If they don't come, we will have a huge problem, for sure. And it will affect my business and all the business here in Poros.
I was born in Poros. I went for 7 years in Athens to study. And then with my husband, we decided to come back here because we would like to have our kids, our family, in a small island which is more safe for kids and it's more beautiful than living in a big city. My business and most of the businesses of Poros are based on tourism because the market here is very small. If we have more and more fish farms around the island, I'm afraid that Poros will have a big problem because no more tourists will come here, so we face a big danger.
We are believing in sustainable tourism, where sustainability is not only taking care of the environment, is not only how you're using the water resources or the electricity resources or everything, but as well how you're treating the locals. Our guests are people who want to come to Greece, but they want to feel exactly what Greece is.
that they will eat Greek food, that they will understand how people here are thinking and how they feel, to feel that you're a part of this place that you're going to, that you're not using the place only for your own pleasure, but you're giving back in a small way by just respecting the locals and respecting the environment. Tourism is something that has to be developed in a beautiful environment, that the waters that we're swimming are clean, that we don't overcrowd the places. So you cannot have polluted waters and talking about sustainable tourism. You cannot have an area that it is not as green as it is now, or full of trucks which are doing the transfers of the big productions then of the fishing of the fishes, and talking about sustainability in tourism or any other form of sustainability in reality. It's the only way to go on in every aspect of our life. If it is called tourism, if it is called everyday's life, this is sustainability and is the future.
They try to make Poros like a big fish farm. It's a disaster for all of us. We are 5 generations in this job, in the same shop, and we continue. We prefer to stay tourist place, not an industry place. We will see. We try to say to the government and the people, the political people which vote here, to say no. We will see what happens.
The day has finally come for the people of Poros to vote. Fish farming expansion is high in people's minds. It's the last chance for both mayoral candidates to press the flesh and make an impression. In 2020, the Poros Municipal Council unanimously voted against the Poyai plans. This opposition was submitted to the Ministry of Environment during the public consultation period, but was primarily ignored. Many meetings and efforts with the federal government have followed, only to be met with unfulfilled promises and vague statements to delay the expansion.
Yeah, I might, I'll just get you here so I can check the lights.
Καλώς ήρθατε κύριε Κουτουζή και συγχαρητήρια για την εκλογή σας.
Η δική μου σχέση με τον Πόρο είναι ότι είμαι γέννημα θρέμα Ποριώτης. Η οικογένειά μου είναι από τον Πόρο. Οι παππούδες μου ήταν από τον Πόρο.
Το θέμα της συζήτησής μας είναι για τις ηχθειοκαλλιέργειες. Θα ήθελα να σας ρωτήσω ποια είναι η θέση σας ως νεοεκλεγέντα δήμαρχος για τις ηχθειοκαλλιέργειες στον Πόρο και για την ΠΟΑΗ.
Εγώ θέλω να πω ότι γενικά παρακολουθώντας την εξέλιξη στη χώρα μας και στο νησί μας από πλευράς τουρισμού και οικονομίας θα είναι καταστροφικό. Διότι το νησί μας είναι ένα μικρό νησί το οποίο δεν έχει μεγάλο περίπλου. Όταν καταλάβουν το 1/3 που λέγεται, αυτό θα είναι καταστροφή για τον τουρισμό, θα μειώσει το εισόδημα του πληθυσμού και δεν θα τα αποδίδει τίποτα από την πλευρά αυτή. Εγώ γενικά παρακολουθώντας εξελίξεις δεν είμαι μόνο εναντίον της δημιουργίας ΠΟΑΗ, είμαι εναντίον γενικά των ηχθειοκαλλιεργειών στο νησί. Πρέπει σιγά σιγά να φύγουν τελείως. Εγώ με την πρώτη μέρα που θα αναλάβω, με την πρώτη του έτους, θα εξαντλήσω όλα τα θεσμικά μέσα που έχω σαν δήμαρχος. Θα κάνω όσες επαφές και παραπάνω γίνεται με υπουργούς, με τον πρωθυπουργό, με όσους γίνεται, να μπορώ να διασώσω το νησί μας. Δηλαδή είμαι διατεθειμένος, να σας πω την αλήθεια, το είχα κάνει πρόταση και παλιά, μαζί με κάποιους από το Συμβούλιο μου να πάμε να κάνουμε και απεργία πείνας έξω από το Υπουργείο Περιβάλλοντος. Δυναμικά πράγματα με προσωπικό κόστος.
Ο Θεός
δημιούργησε τον κόσμο. Τελευταίο δημιούργησε τον άνθρωπο. Για σκεφτείτε να δημιουργούσε τον άνθρωπο πρώτο. Θα μπορούσε να ζήσει ο άνθρωπος χωρίς το περιβάλλον? Δεν θα μπορούσε να ζήσει ο άνθρωπος χωρίς το περιβάλλον. Έφτιαξε το περιβάλλον για να υπηρετεί τον άνθρωπο που είναι το υψηλότερο από τα δημιουργήματα του Θεού. Επομένως, αν εμείς δεν σεβόμαστε το περιβάλλον στο οποίο ζούμε, τότε αυτοκαταστρεφόμαστε από μόνοι μας.
I don't think that people do understand the extent of the fish farming that's going to be in Greece. If the fish farms grow here and grow in the way that they are planning to grow here.
If that happens, we don't have to worry about anything because there will be nothing left.
We are fighting against not only the not respect of the environment, but as well the no respect to our local society. Nobody has asked us if we want these fish farms here.
We live on this island because it's green. We can go with the boats, we can swim and enjoy the whole island, not just a small part of it.
All the things that can be done here, from organic agriculture to sustainable tourism to all the other aspects that you can have, this is a really, really nice place to be. And industrializing such an area, to me, it would take away the reason why my family and I selected this place and fell in love with this place, right? You're really destroying, if you want, the character that has been sustained over the years.
Makes us very angry. Very, very angry.
Και έτσι λοιπόν αυτό τους ενδιαφέρει. Το πώς θα γίνουν πιο πλούσιοι και οι φτωχοί πώς θα γίνουν φτωχότεροι.
The sea is the lifeblood of Greece. It's everything.
We have to do whatever it takes to protect our environment, our life, our future.
There are some things that are irreversible. If something you can undo, it's not a problem. But if you cannot undo, and it's important, something is lost forever.
Only if we are all of us united and we decided to move against this, how we say in English, συλλογικό, it's from all the people of Poros.
The way they're using the fish farm is not very healthy for people, for the sea, for the fish, for everything.
Everything happens for the money for the banks.
I go on my boat, and when the sun comes out, I stop the boat and I said, whoever you are, however they call you, I said, thank you.
I'd rather not eat fish, It doesn't have to be there on my plate all the time. Let it be.
Πρέπει να φύγουν αυτά τα πράγματα από τον Πόρο.
I can't believe it will happen. I just can't.